So let's talk about that big word detox today, guys, because detoxing is not just about dry January, going on a few simple juice fasts, detox juice fasts, water fasts and things like that. And it's really important that we understand, as always, the mechanisms behind detoxing, so that if we do, we can actually then understand a bit more how they process toxins out of the body and how we can help in many ways just at home by knowing more about these things. In my experience as a naturopath for 25 years, it's so important to me that people recognize these early warning signs that the body is giving us all the time, that is giving us vital information that we can at that point really easily and readily turn around. When we don't turn it around, that's when it becomes much more potential for chronic disease to set in. So I thought that it would be good to clarify that old word of sort of like detox. I have a lot of people saying to me, what juices are good for a detox, or what supplements can I take for a detox? And that then leads me to understand that people are not really genuinely understanding the body very well. So this really matters because it connects into everything else that I've been talking about. If we do not have good eliminatory systems in our body, then we're going to lower our immune systems. We're going to also not be able to enhance that good gut biome that grows in our stomachs very readily, and also the adrenals, which leads of course to chronic fatigue and other things like that, can become very exhausted. So the body becomes less resilient as well, and the whole body can become much lighter with its load if basically we learn these fundamental steps to genuinely detoxing the body. So the first one that I really wanted to mention was, of course, the liver. The liver is the main processing plant. So the liver's main job really is to convert all toxins that come through the hepatic portal vein to it into non-toxic byproducts. And some of these are obvious ones like alcohol, medications, chemicals in our food and our water, chlorine, fluoride, etc., but also byproducts of hormones and also byproducts of digestion and our stress hormones. So what the liver does is, through a process called glutathionification, it basically breaks down these byproducts, toxic byproducts, into less toxic products that then are removed from the body. They're flushed out in the bile via our bowels, and also via our urine through our kidneys. And this means that those byproducts don't then build up in our bodies and start to harm us. Often when I see women with hormonal variations, people with lots of breakout on their faces, particularly the cheek area, blemished skin, who feel very fatigued on waiting, even if they've had 8 hours of really good sound sleep, they wake up feeling almost hung over, and they might also present with sort of constipation. I know that very possibly the liver is banking up and not detoxing properly. So there's plenty of things that we can take that are out there to help this, particularly in the foods that we eat, because these bitter greens that we get, such as endive or rocket, for example, are really good to have in our salads pre-eating big carbohydrate rich foods, because they really get the digestive system. The liver loves anything that's bitter. It also loves first thing on waking, if you have 500 mils or a pint glass of warm water with half a freshly squeezed lemon in there, and then you drink that, it tends to really help the liver flush out and the gallbladder flush out any toxins that it might have retained over the night. We can eat globe artichokes. They're a wonderful source of liver cleansing properties. Dandelion leaves as well, and dandelion root and burdock root together, which come readily in a coffee or a tea format are very, very good for the liver in helping to relieve that. There's also sulfur-rich foods that are very helpful in this regard, and specific supplements as well that you can take, NAC and L-glutathione, which is an amino acid, which also help with the process that the liver likes. Then the next one, of course, is the bowels, which is the exit route. Once all of those toxins have been detoxified by the liver, it's going to want an exit point, and the bowels are one of the exit points. So it really is important that we take note of our bowel habits. If it's too sluggish or if it's too fast moving, it'll either mean that things when they slow down, toxins that should leave the body are not leaving the body, and then possibly they could be reabsorbed into the body. So any sort of alternating bowel habits that you have, or a lot of gas buildup or bloating, foul smelling stools, and this feeling of incomplete evacuation, all can be possible signs actually that the bowels are getting a bit congested. Spots that come around the sort of chin and jawline tend to be a representation of the large colon being congested, and constipation obviously will be one of your first signs that things are not working readily. There are many products obviously that you can buy over the counter, laxatives, to sort of like help along that, but it's not really the solution, because what's happening is it's just, of course, flushing the system out without dealing with the problem. And of course, many people think when they're constipated they'll just have a nice healthy bowl of bran flakes or all bran, and that's a very scrapey fibre, and it's not really the way around it. The fibres that we should be using actually are soluble fibres, such as psyllium husk fibre, flaxseed, aka linseed, are really good as well. Plenty of hydration. So if you are a bit constipated, a tablespoon, for example, of linseed in warm water, whole linseed, broken down and milled, probably last thing at night before you go to bed, or psyllium husks, will ensure that when you wake up in the morning you will be actually able to move the bowels and move it through softly, because of course hemorrhoids can become a real problem, and piles, if we're doing it in a way that's too scrapey for the mucosal lining of the bowels. So those are really much more preferable alternatives to Laxado and other sort of Senna, for example, that you can get, Senna teas, etc., because you're actually then just treating it from a symptomatic level. It's very important as well that water is very important in this respect, because obviously it keeps the stool soft, and magnesium oxide powder, half a teaspoon in water last thing at night, can also help to just relax the smooth muscle and allow the bowels to cleanse out. There are herbal medicines as well, herbal tonics that you can take, Turkey rhubarb and also yellow dock, which are not so widely available, but you can come across them if the constipation has been there for a long time and needs a little bit of extra help. Then we've got, of course, the kidneys is the other way that the toxins that have been broken down and turned into harmful byproducts by the liver are going to be excreted. Now, the kidneys are really important because they filter blood and they remove waste via the urine. And when we're not drinking enough, we're not really giving the kidneys that medium that they require to then get rid of the byproducts. And one of the big byproducts that they are responsible for is uric acid in our systems. So very often when the kidneys are not filtering the uric acid from our bodies, that will then start to get deposited commonly in our finger and toe joints initially, but can become a widespread condition all over the body, where we're suddenly feeling all achy and creaky and, oh my gosh, where's this kind of aches and pains and stiffness coming from? Well, if the kidneys are not hydrated enough with water, they will not be flushing the uric acid out of the system so well. They manage a very sort of delicate balance between sodium, which is salt, and potassium in order to regulate themselves, and that then, if it's dysregulated, can very much start to cause heart problems. So kidney health is very important, and what we can do then to effectively help is notice when we seem to be having puffy ankles, fluid retentions happening, lower back pain is another sort of sign along the way that the kidneys are not good. But the most obvious thing is looking at your urine and seeing whether it's cloudy, discoloured, dark in colour when it should be light all the time. It should be, pretty much clear. And whether or not it has a sort of smell to it, because any of those signs might be that you have got too many byproducts in the urine, and it's then could be flushing back into the system. There are so many water's obviously very important. Potassium rich foods are really important. Leafy green vegetables, for example, have a lot of potassium in. Parsley and celery. But one of the things that I suggest to my patients regularly that have urinary tract disorders is just to have half a teaspoon of Himalayan pink salt in their filtered water that they drink, because that then really equalizes out the balance of the minerals in our body that help along with this. There are herbs such as uva ursi, marshmallow, parsley root and juniper that can also help, and couch grass is a particular one where there are recurring urinary tract conditions. So those are all really, again, not readily available, not on the shop floor, but certainly if you Googled them, you'd be able to find a herbalist that would send dry forms of these that you could make teas out of. The lymphatic system is the next one. It's a rubbish collecting system. It's absolutely essential because it moves waste from cells and tissues. And the lymphatic system does not have a pump like the heart does. It relies very much on being a very clear, viscid stream in our bodies to basically move along and collect these waste products and filter them out of the system. It does this via the major lymph nodes that are all around our bodies. And the trouble is that people who are eating perhaps too much dairy products or other gluey like products find that their lymphatic systems don't flow as readily, and they get lots of sinus problems and lots of catarrhally type problems. This means your lymphatic system is not being a clear, viscid stream in the body, and it's not then able to clear these metabolic waste products out of the body. It's very important because if we don't have a pump to help that along, we've got to do that. And so exercise is very important. Sweating is very important. Something called dry body brushing, where you can get a dry body brush and just always in an upwards direction towards the heart brush, and then you will hopefully be helping that lymphatic system moving along as it should do. There's lots of cleavers and nettle growing around, especially in the UK at the moment in springtime, and both of those are very, very good skin cleansers, and they simply can just be washed off a little bit so there's no dust or debris, and then simply put into your water jug. The cold water extraction will draw out the constituents from those two abundant leafy plants around to start to help to purify the lymphatic system. A rebounder bouncing up and down on a little trampette is one of the best things for the lymphatic system as well. Walking, massage, etc. So that also then follows through then onto the skin, because the lymphatic system just is right below the surface of the skin, and if the lymphatic system is not detoxifying properly, then the skin is most likely to be congested as well. So that's when you start to see dry skin, itchy skin that's prone to eczema, psoriasis, acne, boils, things like that can really, really be an indication that the skin is sort of backing up. And one of its most effective ways of releasing these toxins, the skin, is to sweat. But if we've got lots of dry skin that's sort of stuck on our bodies, then the sweat can't really get out. So again, dry body brushing, salt rubbed in to exfoliate our skin is a very good way to ensure that the sweat can always leave our bodies. the another indication of the skin that's backing up will be foul smelling body odor, because again it's just all collecting in one point and then being excreted. So those are really the main ones. Our lungs are also another system of elimination, and they are the quickest system of elimination. We breathe in and they breathe out normally toxic gases that come into our systems. So they are obviously relieved by or basically helped a lot by breathing exercises and keeping our lungs full of air in and out, because we don't realize shallow breathing is one of the biggest signs of the lungs not effectively detoxing these metabolic gases for us. The lungs, interestingly enough, hold the emotion grief. And very often when I work with patients in a clinical situation and I say to them, do you have any breathing problems? Are you asthmatic? Are you wheezing? Are you shallow breathing? And they're like, no, I'm fine. And then I question it more deeply, and they then invariably do have some very deep held grief that they're holding in the lungs, and that is then showing up as signs in their body that are affecting the lungs in different ways. So, it's really important, I think, that once we understand again that the detoxing, eliminating organs of our body, they work as a collective. They're very, very dependent on one another in a process to sort of help the whole body out to get rid and let go of all sorts of toxins that we are dealing with in the modern life that we live. We've got lots in our food, we've got lots in the air, we've got lots in chemicals in our water, we've got lots in medications that we take, etc. So my sincere hope that this information has enlightened you in even just one aspect and given you a little bit of an idea of how you can help yourself with regards to detoxing your body, not on a once dry January sort of occasion, but on an everyday basis, thinking, am I drinking enough water? How's the fibre in my diet? How are those really fresh, essential bitter greens in my diet? Am I breathing well? Am I doing any pranayama? Those sort of things I think would be really considered to be holistic ways that we are looking after our detoxing systems in our body. So hope that's been helpful. As always, leaving you with my thoughts. Any thoughts that you want to get back with me on those subjects, please feel free. But until next time, stay happy, stay healthy.